James 1 verse 12 to 16. Blessed is the man who is patient under trial and stands up under temptation, for when he stood the test and been approved, he will receive the crown of life which God has promised to those who love him. Let no one say when he is tempted, I am tempted from God, for God is incapable of being tempted by evil, and he himself tempts no one. But every person is tempted when he is drawn away, enticed, and baited by his own evil desires. Then the evil desire, when it has been conceived, gives birth to sin. And sin, when it is fully matured, brings forth death. Do not be misled, my beloved brother. Now, just before I start explaining too much about what's going on inside about temptation and stuff, I just want to clear up and just remove all the stuff that we know that's certain. And what we see in verse 13, what's certain is God does not tempt. He cannot be tempted. And that is for certain. So I just want to get that out. And as James say at the end, do not be misled, my beloved brother. Now, misled by what? That is by what? Because in 12 he's speaking of trials, and verse 13 he's speaking of temptation. So what is it? So I just first, before I get there, it's just clarify the difference between trials and temptations. Trials is something that's out of us or outside, where temptation is something that is inside. Trials are present time to time, where temptations is continuously present. Trials may not involve sin, where temptation involves sin. Trials cannot be avoided, where temptations can be reduced. Now, why I say reduced, I would like to say, or just quickly read 1 Peter 2 verse 21, where, for even this you were called, for Christ also suffered for you, leaving you his example, so that you should follow in his footsteps. He was guilty of no sin. Unfortunately, we as humans, we have an evil inside of us, so we can't totally be without sin. So we can reduce the sin. So in trials, if you stand strong through the trials, it'll build your faith, your patience, endurance, and your steadfastness, etc. But temptations, if you fall under your temptation, what's happened? Spiritual death happens. Now we can just quickly the first example of temptation in the Bible we can look at is Adam and Eve. Everybody knows Adam and Eve. Now what happened when God asked Adam where he is? What's happening? He said, God, the wife you gave me the fruit and I ate of it. So what did Adam do? He didn't just blame Eve. He actually blamed God. He moved the blame to God for doing that. So that is what we normally do as well, is we try and give that responsibility to someone else, or even God in this case. So Adam incorrectly blamed God. What really happened there is the serpent gave a suggestion to Eve, saying, look at this fruit, it's nice to eat. But with that, he actually just planted a seed of desire that she then put together. If you put suggestion with desire, you get temptation. That is where it all goes wrong. Now, there's many things. There's many types of suggestion. You need money to buy food at the end of the month. What's your desire? To buy food or to buy a bigger car, more cars, 3 cars, the same as the Joneses next door. You see a pretty lady walking down the street. Is that a pretty lady, or is it some desire that awakens something in you that creates temptation? What is your suggestion that is in you at the moment? What is your desire? What does the evil one inside of you try to, everything God made was perfect. What is the evil one trying to destroy by putting a desire in you? What is that thing? If you can think of that, and of course try and eliminate and work through it, and ask God, Holy Spirit, to help you in that. So first we have the suggestion, and then after that we get, as we see in, then the evil desire, when it has conceived, gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is fully matured, brings forth death. Now the next step we get to is conceive. That is now where you start giving freedom to the suggestion, and you start getting that desire to come and connect to that suggestion to become temptation. At this stage, it's not sin yet. But what happens next? Then it gives birth. If it gives birth, then you actually go and do what you're not supposed to do, or you don't do what you ought to do. So that is where the rubber is the road, and you're actually committing that sin. After the birth, it matures. You do it again, you do it again, you do it more, you look at more ways to hide it because you know you're not supposed to do it. So it just snowballs, gets bigger and bigger, and then you're going to get to point 5, spiritual death, where you get to a point where you are so spiritually insensitive. You're going to get to a point of godlessness. You are going to be separated from God. This is the space where people get destroyed, lives get destroyed, families get destroyed, companies fold, reputations gets ruined, and all because of one suggestion and a desire. So then again, I just want to end off like James ended off with this little section. Do not be misled, my beloved brother.